am sorry for that, for your sake. I don't play well. Anyone can play well. But I play with such wonderful sentiment. When it comes to the piano, expression is my forte. I keep science for life.
Yes, sir.
Oh, and speaking of the science of life, have you got those cucumber sandwiches ready for Aunt Augusta?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Oh, and by the way, I noticed from your book that last Thursday, when Lord Shorman and Mr. Worthing dined with me, 8 bottles of champagne are ended as having been consumed.
Yes, sir. 8 bottles and a pint.
Why is it that at a bachelor's establishment, the servants invariably consume the champagne? I ask merely for information.
Oh, well, I attribute to the superior quality of wine, sir. I've often found in married households that the champagne is rarely a first-rate brand.
Good God, is marriage really so demoralizing as all that?
I find it very pleasant, though I rarely found myself in that state up until now. I've only been married once, I think, but that was a misunderstanding between a young person and myself.
Don't think I care that much about your family life, Lainey.
Yes, I don't really think about it much myself. I don't find it very interesting.
Thank you, Lainey, that will do.
Thank you, sir.
Lainey's views on marriage seem rather lax. Really, if the lower orders don't set a good example for us, what use have they? They seem as a class have absolutely no sense of moral responsibility.
Mr. Earnest Worthing.
Earnest, old boy. What brings you up to town?
Oh, pleasure, pleasure. What else should bring one anywhere? Eating as usual, I see, Algy.
I believe it's customary in polite society to take some slight refreshment around 5 o'clock. Where have you been since last Thursday?
In the country.
What on earth do you do there?
When one is in town, one amuses oneself. When one is in the country, one amuses other people. It's excessively boring.
Well, whom are these people whom you amuse?
Oh, neighbors.
Got nice neighbors in your part of Shropshire?
Perfectly horrid. Never speak to one of them.
How wonderfully you must amuse them. By the way, Shropshire is your county, is it not?
Shropshire, yes. Yes, of course, Shropshire.
Hello. Why all this tea? Why cucumber sandwiches? Why such reckless extravagance in one so young? Who is coming to tea?
Oh, merely Aunt Augusta and Gwendolen.
How perfectly delightful.
Yes, that may be, though I do not think that Aunt Augusta will much approve of your being here.
May I ask why?
My dear boy, the way you flirt with Gwendolen is perfectly shameless. So much as shameless as the way she flirts with you.
I am in love with Gwendolen. I have come up to town expressly to propose to her.
You call that pleasure? I call that business.
How utterly unromantic you are.
There's nothing romantic at all about a proposal. It's very romantic to be in love, but no, nothing romantic about a definite proposal. One might be accepted. One usually is, I believe. And then the excitement is gone. The very essence of romance is excitement. If I ever get married, that's something I will try very hard to forget.
Oh, I have no doubt about that. The divorce court was especially invented for people whose memories are so curiously constituted.
Oh, we needn't speculate on that. Divorces are made in heaven. And do not touch those. They are made expressly for Aunt Augusta.
Well, you have been eating them all the time.
Yes, that is an entirely different matter. She is my aunt. Have some of the bread and butter. It is made expressly for Gwendolen. She is devoted to her bread and butter.
Very good bread and butter it is, too.
Well, you needn't eat as if you're going to eat it all. You behave as though you're already married to Gwendolen, and you are not. And I don't think you ever will be.
Why on earth do you say that?
Girls don't marry the men they flirt with. Girls don't think it's right.
Well, that's nonsense.
It isn't. It's perfectly true. It counts for the extraordinary numbers of bachelors one sees all over the place. And secondly, I don't give my consent.
Your consent?
My dear boy, Gwendolen is my cousin, and before I consent to your marrying her, you are going to have to clear up the little question of Cecily.
Cecily, why do you bring up Cecily when you know perfectly well I don't know anyone called Cecily? Sorry, I don't know any Cecilys.
Lady! Please bring me the cigarette case that Mr. Worthing left when he dined here last.
Yes, sir.
Do you mean to say that you've had my cigarette case all this time? I wish to goodness you'd let me know. I've been writing frantic letters to Scotland Yard about it. I was very nearly offering a large reward.
Well, I wish you would. I happen to be more than usually hard up.
Well, there's no use offering a large reward now that the thing is found.
I think that's really unfriendly of you, Ernest. I really do. And besides, now that I look at the inscription inside, I see that this is not your cigarette case at all.
That's absurd. You've seen me with it 100 times, and you've no right whatsoever to read what's written inside. It's a very ungentlemanly thing to read a private cigarette case.
Oh, that's ridiculous. We have so many rules nowadays about what one can and cannot read. Half of modern society is based entirely on what one cannot read.
Well, I don't propose to dispute you on that, but I don't want to discuss modern culture. It isn't the sort of thing one should talk of in private. Just give it back to me, Algy.
Yes, but this is not your cigarette case. This cigarette case is a gift from somebody by the name of Cecily. And you said yourself that you knew no one of that name.
Well, if you want to know, Cecily happens to be my aunt.
Your aunt.
Yes, charming old lady she is too, lives at Tunbridge Wells.
Yes, but if it is indeed a gift from your charming old aunt who lives at Tunbridge Wells, why does she refer to herself as Little Cecily? From Little Cecily with her fondest love.
My dear fellow, what on earth is there in that? Some aunts are tall, some aunts are not tall. That is a matter that surely an aunt may be allowed to decide for herself. You seem to think that every aunt should be exactly like your aunt. That's absurd. Now, for heaven's sake, give me back my cigarette case.
Indeed! There is no objection to an aunt being a small aunt, but why an aunt of any stature should refer to her own nephew as her uncle is quite beyond me. From little Cecily, with her fondest love, to her dear Uncle Jack. Besides, her name isn't Jack at all, it's Ernest.
It isn't Earnest. It's Jack.
You've always told me it was Ernest. I've introduced you to everybody as Ernest. You answer to the name as Ernest. You look as though your name were Ernest. You're the most earnest-looking person that I know. Besides, it's on your cards. Mr. Ernest Worthing, B4, the Albany. I shall keep this as proof that your name is Ernest, should ever you attempt to deny it to me, or to Gwendolyn, or to anyone else.
Well, my name is Ernest in town and Jack in the country, and that cigarette case was given to me in the country.
Yes, but that still does not explain why your aunt calls you her uncle. Come on, Jack, you better have it out.
You talk exactly as if you were a dentist. It's very vulgar to talk like a dentist when one isn't a dentist. It produces a false impression.
Well, that is exactly what dentists do. You know, I might say that I have always suspected you of being a confirmed and secret Bunburyist, and now I know it to be true.
A Bunburyist? What on earth do you mean by that?
I will reveal to you the meaning of that incomparable expression as soon as you explain to me why you are Jack in the country and Ernest in town.
Well, produce my cigarette case first.
There. Now produce your explanation and pray make it improbable.
I'm afraid there's nothing improbable at all about my explanation. In fact, it's perfectly ordinary. Old Mr. Thomas Cardew, who adopted me when I was a little boy, made me in his will guardian to his granddaughter, Miss Cecily Cardew. Cecily, who addresses me as her uncle, for motives of respect you couldn't possibly understand, lives at my house in the country, under the charge of her admirable governess, Miss Prism.
And where is this house in the country?
That's nothing to you, dear boy. You are not going to be invited. I may tell you quite candidly, the place is not in Shropshire.
You know, I suspected that, for I have Bunburied all over Shropshire on 2 separate occasions. Now go on. Why are you Jack in the country and Ernest in town?
I don't know whether you'll really be able to understand my motives. You're hardly serious enough. When one is placed in the position of guardian, one must adopt a very high moral tone on all subjects. As a high moral tone can hardly be said to conduce very much to either one's health or one's happiness. In order to get up to town, I've always pretended to have a younger brother of the name of Earnest, who lives in the Albany and gets in the most dreadful scrapes. That is the whole truth, pure and simple.
The truth is rarely pure and simple. If it were, modern life would be very tedious, and modern literature a complete impossibility.
That wouldn't be at all a bad thing.
Literary criticism is not your forte. You should leave that to those who have not been in a university. They do it so well in daily papers. No, what you are is a Bunburyist. Yes, I was quite right in saying that you are a Bunburyist. You are one of the most advanced Bunburyists that I know.
What on earth do you mean by a Bunburyist?
You have invented a younger brother by the name of Ernest, so that you might be able to come down to town whenever you like. I have invented an invaluable, permanent invalid by the name of Bunbury, so that I may be able to go out to the country whenever I like. Bunbury is perfectly invaluable. For instance, were it not for Bunbury's extraordinarily bad health, I would not be able to dine with you tonight, Willis's, for I have in fact been engaged to Aunt Augusta for over a week.
But I haven't asked you to dine with me anywhere tonight.
I know, you are so careless about sending out invitations. You really should work on that. Nothing annoys people so much as not receiving invitations.
You had much better dine with your Aunt Augusta.
I haven't any intention of doing anything of the sort. For one thing, I dine with her on Monday, and once a week is quite enough to dine with one's own relations. Secondly, every time I go over there, I'm always treated as part of the family and sent down with either 2 women or none. Thirdly, I know perfectly well who she will seat me next to. She will seat me next to Miss Mary Farquhar, who always flirts shamelessly with her own husband from across the table. That is not pleasant. Indeed, it's not even decent. And that sort of thing is immensely on the rise in London society. It's grotesque. It is simply washing one's own clean linens in public. But enough of that. Now that I know you to be a Bunburyist, I naturally want to talk to you about Bunbury. I want to tell you all the rules.
I am not a Bunburyist. If Gwendolen accepts me, I'm going to kill my brother. Indeed, I think I'll kill him in any case. Cecily's becoming a little too much interested in him. It's rather a bore. No, I think I'll kill him. I strongly advise you to do the same with Mr. your invalid friend with the absurd name.
Nothing will induce me to part with Bunbury. The man who marries without knowing Bunbury has a very tedious time of it.
But that is nonsense. If I marry a girl like Gwendolen, she's the only girl I ever saw in my life that I would marry, I certainly won't want to know Bunbury.
Then your wife will. You don't seem to understand, dear boy, that in marriage, 3 is company and 2 is none.
That, my dear fellow, is the theory that the corrupt French drama has been propounding for the last 50 years.
Yes, and a happy English home has proved in half the time.
Don't try to be cynical. It's so perfectly easy to be cynical.
Oh, it isn't easy to be anything nowadays. So much dreadful competition about. That would be Aunt Augusta. Only relatives and creditors ring in that Wagnerian manner. Now, if I can get rid of Aunt Augusta for 5 minutes so that you may have the opportunity of proposing to Gwendolen, will you dine with me tonight, Ulysses?
I suppose so, if you want to.
Excellent. You must be serious about it, though. I hate it when people are not serious about dinner. It's so shallow of them.
Lady Bracknell and Miss Fairfax.
Good afternoon, Algernon. I hope you are behaving very well.
I am feeling very well, Aunt Augusta.
Well, that's not quite the same thing, and in fact, the 2 things rarely go together.
Dear me, aren't you smart?
I'm always smart. Aren't I, Mr. Worthing?
You're quite perfect, Miss Fairfax.
Oh, I hope I'm not that. Perfection leaves absolutely no room for development. And I intend to develop in several directions.
I'm sorry we're a little late, Algernon, but I was obliged to call on dear Lady Harbury. I hadn't been there since her poor husband's death, and I never saw a woman so altered. She looks 20 years younger, you know. Oh, and now we'll have a nice cup of tea and one of those cucumber sandwiches you promised me.
Certainly.
Gwendolyn, won't you come sit here?
Thanks, Mama. I'm quite comfortable where I am.
Good heavens, lady!
What, sir?
Where are the cucumber sandwiches? I ordered them expressly for Aunt Augusta.
Oh, but sir, I went down to the market twice. There were no cucumber sandwiches.
No cucumbers?
No, sir, not even for ready money.
Thank you, lady, that will do. I'm very distressed, Aunt Augusta, here about there being no cucumbers, not even for ready money.
Oh, it really makes no matter, Algernon. I had some crumpets with Lady Harbury, who seems to me to living entirely for pleasure now.
Yes, I hear her hair has turned quite gold from grief.
No, it certainly has, from what cause I, of course, cannot say. Oh, I've quite a surprise for you tonight, Algernon. I'm going to send you down with the Mary Farquhar. She's such a nice woman, so attentive to her husband. It's delightful to watch them.
Yes, indeed. I have to regret to inform you, Aunt Augusta, that I will not be able to join you tonight for dinner.
Oh, I hope not, Algernon. That will put my table completely out. Your poor uncle would have to dine upstairs, but fortunately he's accustomed to that.
Yes, indeed, it is a great bore, and as you can imagine, a tremendous disappointment. But I have recently received word that my poor friend Bunbury is dreadfully ill again. His doctors seem to think I should be with him.
That's strange. This Mr. Bunbury seems to be suffering from curiously bad health.
Yes, Mr. Bunbury is a dreadful invalid.
Well, I must say, Algernon, I believe it is high time that this Mr. Bunbury made up his mind whether he was going to live or die. Shilly-shallying with the question's absurd, nor do I in any way approve of the modern sympathy with invalids. Consider it morbid. Illness of any kind is hardly a thing to be encouraged in others. Health is the primary duty of life, you know. I am always telling that to your poor uncle, but he never seems to take much notice as far as any improvement of his ailment goes. But I would be much obliged if you would ask Mr. Bunbury not to have a relapse on Saturday, for I rely on you to arrange my music for me. It is my last reception, and one wants something that will encourage conversation, particularly at the end of the season, when everyone has practically said whatever they had to say, which in most cases is probably not much. But
Yes, I will speak to Bunbury for you, Aunt Augusta, and I think I can promise you that he will be all right on Saturday. Now, as for the music, that is a great difficulty since, as you know, when one plays good music, nobody ever listens, and when one plays bad music, nobody ever talks. However, I can go over the program I've drawn out for you if you would be so kind as to step into the next room.
oh, thank you, Algernon. I'm sure the program will be delightful, after a few expiations, of course. French songs they cannot possibly allow. People always seem to think that they are improper and either look shocked, which is vulgar, or laugh, which is worse. But German seems to me like a thoroughly respectable language, and I believe it is so. Gordon, and won't you accompany me?
Certainly, Mama.
Charming day it has been, Miss Fairfax.
Pray don't talk to me about the weather, Mr. Worthing. Whenever people try to talk to me about the weather, I feel quite certain that they mean something else. And that makes me so nervous.
I do mean something else.
I thought so. In fact, I am never wrong.
And I would like to be allowed to take advantage of Lady Bracknell's temporary absence.
I would certainly advise you to do so. Mamma has a way of coming back suddenly into a room that I've often had to speak to her about.
Gwendolen, ever since I met you, I have admired you more than any other girl I have ever met since I met you.
Yes, I'm quite aware of that fact. And I often wish that, in public at any rate, you'd been far more demonstrative. For me, you've always had an irresistible fascination. Even before I met you, I was far from indifferent to you. We live, as I hope you know, Mr. Worthing, in an age of ideals. The fact is constantly being mentioned in the far more expensive monthly magazines, and it's reached the provincial pulpits, or so I'm told. And my ideal has always been to love a man by the name of Earnest. Something about that name inspires absolute confidence. The moment Algernon mentioned to me that he had a friend called Earnest, I knew I was destined to love you.
You really love me, Gwendolen.
Passionately, darling.
Darling, you don't know how happy you've made
Oh,
me.
my own Olive.
But you don't mean to say that you couldn't love me if my name wasn't Earnest.
But your name is Earnest.
Oh, yes, I know it is. But supposing it was something else. Do you mean to say you really couldn't love me then?
Well, that is a metaphysical speculation. Like most metaphysical speculations, has very little reference at all with the actual facts of life as we know them.
Really, darling, to speak quite candidly, I don't think the name of Earnest suits me at all.
It suits you perfectly. It has a music of its own. It produces vibrations.
I really think there are lots of other much nicer names. I think Jack, for instance, a charming name.
Jack. No. There is very little music in the name of Jack. If any at all, indeed. I've known several Jacks, Mr. Worthing, and all, without exception, have been more than usually plain. Furthermore, Jack is a notorious domesticity for John, and I pity any poor married woman whose husband is called John. She's probably never been allowed to know the entrancing pleasure of a single moment's solitude.
Gwendolen, I must get christened at once. We must get married at once. There's no time to be lost.
Married, Mr. Worthing?
Well, you know I love you, and you led me to believe you weren't entirely indifferent to me.
I adore you. But you haven't proposed to me yet. The subject of marriage has not even been touched upon.
Well, may I propose to you now?
I think it would be an admirable opportunity. And to save you any disappointment,
I'm prepared to state quite frankly beforehand, Mr. Worthing, that I am fully determined to accept you.
Darling!
Yes, Mr. Worthing, what have you to say to me?
You know quite well what I've got to say to you.
Yes, but you don't say it.
Oh, right. Gwendolyn, will you marry me?
Of course I will, darling. My, how long you have been about it. I'm afraid you've had absolutely no experience in how to propose.
Well, I've never proposed to anyone but you.
Yes, but men often propose for practice. I know my brother Gerald does. All my girlfriends tell me so. Your eyes are quite blue, Ernest. They are quite blue. I hope that you will always look at me just like that. Especially when other people are present.
Mr. Worthing, rise, sir, from this semi-recovered posture is most indecorous.
I must beg you to retire. There is no place for you here. Besides, Mr. Worthing is not quite finished yet.
Oh, finished to what, may I ask?
I'm engaged to be married to Mr. Worthing, Mamma.
Pardon me, but you are not engaged to anyone. When you do become engaged to someone, either I, your father, should his health permit him, will inform you of the fact. Engagement should come upon a girl as a surprise, pleasant or unpleasant as the case may be. It is hardly a matter for a girl to arrange for herself. And now I have a few questions to put to you, Mr. Worthing. And while I make these inquiries, you, Gwendolyn, will wait for me below in the carriage.
Mamma!
In the carriage, Gwendolyn!
Fine. Mamma?
Gwendolyn! The carriage! You may take a seat, Mr. Worthing.
Thank you, Lady Bracknell. I prefer standing.
I feel bound to tell you, Mr. Worthing, you are not on my list of eligible young men, although I do share the same list the Duchess of Bolton has. We work together, in fact. However, I'm quite ready to enter your name should your answers be what a really affectionate mother requires. Now, Mr. Worthing, do you smoke?
Well, I must admit I do smoke.
I'm very pleased to hear that. A man should always have an occupation of some kind. There are far too many idle men in London these days. Now, how old are you?
29.
A very good age to be married at. Now, Mr. Worthing, I've always been of opinion of a man who desires to get married at should either know everything or nothing. Now, which do you know?
I know nothing, Lady Bracknell.
I'm glad to hear that. I do not approve of anything that tampers with natural ignorance. Ignorance is like a delicate, exotic fruit. Touch it and the bloom is gone. The whole theory of modern education is radically unsound. Fortunately, in England at any rate, education produces no effect whatsoever. If it did, it would prove to be a serious danger to the upper classes and lead to acts of violence up in Grosvenor Square. Oh, now, what's your income?
Between 7,000 and 8,000 a year.
Now, that's very satisfactory. Now, is that in land or in investments?
In investments, chiefly.
No, that is satisfactory. Between the duties exacted during one's life and the duties exacted after one's death, land has either proved to be a profit or a pleasure. It gives one position and prevents one from keeping it up.
I do, of course, have a country house with some land attached to it, about 1,500 acres, of course.
Oh, a country house? How many bedrooms? Oh, well, that can be cleared up afterwards. I'm sure you do have a townhouse. A girl with an unspoiled nature like Gwendolyn could hardly be expected to reside in the country.
Well, I do own a place in Belgrave Square, but it is let by the year to Lady Bloxham. However, I can get it back whenever I like, at 6 months' notice.
Lady Bloxham, I don't know her.
Oh, she goes about very little. She's a lady considerably advanced in years.
Nowadays there's no guarantee of respectability of character. Now, what number in Belgrave Square did you say?
149.
Oh, the unfashionable side. I knew there was something wrong. However, that can be altered.
Do you mean the fashion or the side of the street?
Both if necessary, I presume. Now, Mr. Worthing, what are your politics?
I'm afraid I really have none. I'm a liberal unionist.
They count as Tories. They dine with us, in the evening at any rate. Now to minor matters. Mr. Worthing, are your parents living?
Well, I've lost both my parents.
To lose one parent, Mr. Worthing, may be regarded as misfortune, but to lose both seems like utter carelessness. Who was your father? He was evidently a man of some wealth. Was he born with what the radical papers call the purple of commerce, or did he rise from the ranks of aristocracy?
I'm afraid I really don't know. I said I lost both my parents. It would be nearer the truth to say my parents seem to have lost me. I don't know who I am by birth. I was, well, you see, the thing is, I was found.
My dear, you were found?
Yes. Old Mr. Thomas Cardew, an old man of a very high stature, found me and gave me the name of Worthing because he happened to have in his pocket at the time a first-class ticket for Worthing. Worthing is a place in Sussex. It's a seaside resort.
And why did this charitable young man have a first-class ticket to a seaside resort find you?
In a handbag.
Handbag?
Yes. A somewhat large, black, leather handbag with handles to an ordinary handbag, in fact.
In what locality does Mr. Thomas or James Cardew find this particular handbag?
At the cloakroom at Victoria Station. It was given him in mistake for his own.
The cloakroom at Victoria Station?
Yes. The bright line.
Ugh! The line is immaterial, Mr. Worthing. Mr. Worthing, I confess I feel somewhat bewildered by what you just told me. To be born, or at any rate, breed in a handbag, whether it is at handbag handles or not, seems to me to display a certain contempt for ordinary decencies of family life. It reminds me of the worst successes of the French Revolution. And I presume you know what that particular movement led to. As for the particular locality in which the handbag was found, a cloakroom at a railway station seems to me to conceal a certain social indiscretion. It may have been used for that purpose before now. It could be hardly regarded as a assured basis for a recognized position in a good society.
May I ask you then what you suggest I would do? I need hardly say I would do anything in the world to ensure Gwendolyn's happiness.
I would strongly advise you, Mr. Worthing, try to acquire some relations as soon as possible and find one parent of either sex before the season is quite over.
I really don't see how I can do that. I can produce the handbag at any moment. It's in my dressing room at home. I really think that should satisfy you.
Me, sir? Satisfy me? You could hardly imagine Lord Bracknell and I to allow our only daughter, a girl brought up with the utmost care, to allow her to marry into a cloakroom and form an alliance with a parcel. Good day, Mr. Worthing.
Good day, Mr. Worthing. For goodness sake, stop playing that tune! How idiotic you are, Algy!
Well, how'd it go, old boy? You don't mean to say she rejected you? Look, she's always rejecting people. It's a way she has. I think most unfriendly of her.
Gwendolyn is as right as a trivet. Her mother is perfectly unbearable. Never met such a gorgon. I don't really know what a gorgon is like, but I'm quite sure that Lady Bracknell is one. In any case, she's a monster without being a myth, which I think is rather unfair. I'm sorry, Algy, I don't mean to talk of your own aunt in this manner before you.
My dear boy, I love hearing my relations abused. It's the only reason I put up with them at all. Relations are such a tedious lot. They haven't the slightest idea of how to live, nor the faintest idea of when to die.
That's nonsense.
Is it? It's perfectly true.
Well, I won't argue about it. You always want to argue about things.
Well, that is exactly what things were made for.
For heaven's sake, if I thought that, I'd shoot myself. You don't suppose there's any chance of Gwendolyn becoming like her mother in about 150 years?
No woman ever becomes like her mother. That's their curse. No man ever does. That's his.
Is that clever?
Oh, I think it's as clever as any observation in modern society ought to be.
I'm sick to death of cleverness. One can't go anywhere nowadays without meeting clever people saying clever things. The thing has become an absolute public nuisance. I wish to goodness we had a few fools left.
We have.
We have. I should extremely like to meet them. What on earth do they talk about?
Fools? Oh, the clever people, of course.
What? Fools?
By the way, did you mention to Gwendolyn about your being Jack in the country and Ernest in town?
My dear fellow, the truth isn't the sort of thing one tells to a woman. What extraordinary ideas you have about the way to behave to a girl.
The only way to behave to a girl is to make love to her if she is pretty and someone else if she is plain.
Oh, that's nonsense.
Is it? And what about your brother? What about the profligate Earnest?
Oh, before the end of the week, I shall have got rid of him. I'll say he died in Paris, quite suddenly, of apoplexy. Lots of people die quite suddenly in Paris of apoplexy, don't they?
Yes, but sort of thing hereditary, you know? Kind of runs in families. No, much better to say that he died of a severe chill.
You're sure a severe chill isn't hereditary?
Of course it isn't.
Very well then. My poor brother Earnest is carried off suddenly in Paris by a severe chill. That gets rid of him.
Yes, but what about little Cecily? Didn't you say that she was rather interested in your brother?
Cecily's not a silly, romantic girl, I'm happy to say. She has a capital appetite, goes on long walks, and pays no attention at all to her lessons.
I think I would rather like to meet young Cecily.
I shall take extremely great care you never do. She's excessively pretty, and only just 18.
Yes, and you yet told Gwendolyn that you have an excessively pretty ward who is only just 18.
One doesn't blurt these things out. Besides, I'll bet you anything you like that 5 minutes after they've met, Gwendolyn and Cecily will be calling each other sister.
Yes, women only do that after they have called each other a great deal of other things first. Now, if we are going to get a good table at Willis's, we really must get going. Do you realize it is nearly 7 o'clock?
Oh, it's always nearly 7 o'clock.
Well, I'm hungry.
I never knew you when you weren't.
What should we do after dinner? Might we go to a theater?
Oh no, I loathe listening.
And we could go down to the club then.
No, I hate talking.
Well, we could trot round the Empire around 10.
No, I can't bear looking at things. It's so silly.
Well, then what do you want to do?
Nothing.
It's awfully hard work doing nothing. Don't mind hard work, though, when there's no specific goal in mind.
Miss Fairfax.
Good heavens, Gwendolyn!
Algy, kindly turn your back. I have something very particular to say to Mr. Worthing.
Really, Gwendolyn, I don't think I can allow this.
Algy, you are always adopting a strictly immoral attitude towards life. You are not quite old enough to do that yet. Ernest, we may never be married. From the expression on Mamma's face, I fear we never shall. Few parents nowadays pay attention at all to what their children say to them. Indeed, the age-old custom of respect for the young is fast dying out. Any influence I ever had over Mamma, I lost at the age of 3. But although she may prevent us from becoming man and wife, and I may marry another, and marry often, nothing she can possibly do can ever alter my eternal devotion to you.
Darling!
When do you leave for town?
Till Monday.
Your town address at the Albany I have. What is your address in the country?
The Manor House, Woolton, Hertfordshire.
They have good postal service, I assume. I may be required to do something desperate. That, of course, will require serious consideration. I will communicate with you daily.
My own one.
Algy, you may turn round now.
Thanks, I already have.
Then you may also ring the bell.
Certainly.
You'll let me see you to your carriage, will you not?
Of course.
I will see Miss Fairfax out.
Yes, sir.
Glass of sherry, Laney.
Yes, sir.
Tomorrow, Laney, I'm going Bunburying. You can put on all my Bunburying clothes, my smoking jacket, and all my dress clothes.
Yes, sir.
I hope tomorrow will be a fine lit day, Laney.
It never is, sir.
Perfect pessimist you are, Laney.
I try my best to give satisfaction, sir.
There is a charming intellectual girl. The only girl I ever saw in my life that I would marry. What on earth are you so amused at?
Oh, nothing, just excited about Bunburying, that's all.
If you don't take great care, your friend Bunbury will get you into a serious scrape someday.
I love scrapes. They're the only things that are never serious.
But that's nonsense. You never talk anything but nonsense.
Nobody ever does.
Lord Voldemort's going out for his walk, sir.
Thank you, Lainey.
Cut.
German lesson.
Cecily, you know how anxious your guardian is that you improve yourself in every way. He laid particular stress on your German as he was leaving for town yesterday. Indeed, he always lays particular stress on your German as he's leaving for town.
Dear Uncle Jack is so serious. Sometimes I think he is so serious he cannot be quite well.
Cecily, your guardian enjoys the best of health. His gravity of demeanour is especially to be commended, especially in one so comparatively young as he. I have never met anyone with a higher sense of duty and responsibility.
Perhaps that is why you often look so bored when the three of us are together.
Cecily, I'm surprised at you. Mr. Worthing has many troubles in his life. Idle merriment and triviality would be out of place in his conversation. And you must remember how anxious he is over that unfortunate young man, his brother.
I do wish you would have his brother up to visit us sometime, Miss Prism. We might have a good influence on him. I'm sure you would. You know all sorts of things that could influence a man, like geography and German and things of that sort.
Oh, Cecily, I don't think that even I could produce any effect on a character who, by his brother's own admission, is irretrievably weak and vacillating. And to be honest, I don't know if I would desire to retrieve him. I am not in favor of this modern mania of transforming bad people into good at a moment's notice. As a man sows, so let him reap. Oh, Cecily, you must put away your diary. I don't see why you need to keep a diary at all.
I keep a diary in order to write down all the wonderful secrets of my life. If I didn't, I'm sure I would forget all about them.
Memory, dear Cecily, is the diary that we all carry home with us.
Yes, but it's usually used for chronicling the things that didn't happen and couldn't possibly happen. In fact, I believe memory is responsible for nearly all the 3-volume novels that Marty sends us.
Don't speak slightly of the 3-volume novel, Cecily. I myself wrote one in earlier days.
Did you really, Miss Prism? Hope it did not end happily. I hate novels that end happily. They depress me so much.
Cecily, the good end happily, the bad unhappily. That is what fiction means.
Yes, but it is so unfair. And was your novel ever published, Miss Prism?
No, the manuscript was unfortunately abandoned. And I use the word in the sense of lost or mislaid. Oh, to your work, Cecily. These speculations are profitless.
But I see dear Dr. Chasuble coming up through the garden.
Dr. Chasuble, this is indeed a surprise.
And how are we this morning? Miss Prism, you are, I trust, well?
In fact, Miss Prism has just been complaining of a slight headache. I think it would do her well to go for a stroll in the garden with you, Dr. Chasuble.
Cecily, I've not mentioned anything of a headache.
I know that, Miss Prism, but I felt instinctively that you had one. Indeed, it was that I was thinking about, and not my lessons when the rector arrived.
I hope, Cecily, you have not been inattentive.
I'm afraid I have been.
That's strange. Were I fortunate enough to be Miss Prism's pupil, I would hang upon her lips. I spoke metaphorically. My metaphor was drawn from bees. Mr. Worthing, I trust, has not returned from town yet?
We do not expect him until
until Monday afternoon.
Yes, he usually likes to spend his Sundays in London. He is not one whose sole aim is pleasure, like all accounts his brother seems to be. Well, I will not disturb Eugaria and her pupil any longer.
Eugaria? My name is Laetitia, Doctor.
A classical allusion, merely, drawn from the pagan authors.
Dr. Chasuble, I think I will have a walk with you after all. I find I do have a headache, and a stroll might do it good.
With pleasure, with pleasure. You might even go as far as the schools and back.
That sounds delightful.
Cecily, you will finish your political economy in my absence. The chapter on the fall of rupee you may omit. It's far too sensational. Even these metallic problems have that melodramatic side.
Horrible political economy. Horrid geography. Horrid German!
Mr. Ernest Worthing's just driven over from the station. He's brought his luggage with him.
Did you tell him Mr. Worthing was out of town?
Yes, he seemed very much disappointed. I mentioned you and Miss Prism were in the garden. He said he would very much like to speak with you privately for a moment.
Mr. Ernest Worthing, before the Albany. Uncle Jack's brother sent him out here, and you might want to talk to the housekeeper about finding a room for him.
Yes, miss.
I've never really seen a completely wicked person before. I'm rather frightened he will look just like everybody else. He does!
You must be my little cousin Cecily.
You are under some strange mistake. I'm not little. In fact, I'm more than usually tall for my age. But you're right. I am your cousin Cecily, and you, by the looks of your card, are Uncle Jack's brother. His very wicked and very bad brother.
Oh, I am really not all that wicked, cousin Cecily. You mustn't believe that I am wicked.
If you are not, then you've certainly been deceiving us all in a most inexcusable manner. I hope you've not been leading a double life, pretending to be wicked and really being good the whole time. That would be hypocrisy.
Well, I suppose I have been a little bit reckless.
I'm glad to hear it.
Yes, in fact, now that you mention it, I suppose I have been a little bad in my own small way.
I'm sure it must have been very pleasant, but I'm not sure you should be proud of it.
Oh, no pleasanter than being here with you, cousin Cecily.
I'm not sure why you are here at all. Uncle Jack will be back until next week.
Oh, that is a great disappointment, as I am obliged to go up on the first train on Monday morning. I have a business engagement that I am anxious to miss.
Couldn't you miss it anywhere but in London?
No, the appointment is in London.
I know how important it is to miss a business engagement if one wants to retain any of the sense of the beauty of life, but I think you should stay and wait for Uncle Jack. He wants to talk to you about your emigrating.
About my what?
Your emigrating. He's gone up to buy your outfit.
Well, I certainly wouldn't let Jack buy my clothes. He's got no sense in neckties at all.
I don't think you're going to be needing a necktie. Uncle Jack is sending you to Australia.
Australia? I'd sooner die.
Well, he said last night at dinner you'd have to choose between this world, the next world, and Australia.
Yes, well, the accounts I have heard of the next world and Australia are none too encouraging. I think this world is just good enough for me, cousin Cecily.
Yes, but are you good enough for it?
No, I'm afraid I am not. That's why I've come here to ask you if you might go about reforming me. You might make it your mission, if you will.
I'm afraid I have no time this afternoon.
Well, then would you mind if I went about reforming myself?
It is rather quixotic of you, but I think you should try.
Oh, I feel better already.
You are looking a bit worse.
Yes, that is because I'm hungry.
How thoughtless of me. I should have remembered when one is going to lead an entirely new and renewed life, one needs regular and wholesome meals. Won't you come in?
Yes, but I'd rather have a buttonhole first. I never have any appetite unless I have a buttonhole first.
Maréchal?
No, I think I'd rather have a pink rose.
Why?
Because you are like a pink rose, cousin Cecily.
I don't think you should say such things to me. Miss Prism never talks like that.
Well, then Miss Prism is a short-sighted old lady. You are the prettiest girl I've ever seen.
Miss Prism says all good looks are a snare.
Yes, well, they are a snare that every sensible man would like to fall into.
I don't think I should like to catch a sensible man. I wouldn't know what to talk to him about.
You are too much alone, dear Dr. Chasuble. You must be married. A misanthrope I can understand, but a woman-thrope, never.
But, Miss Prism, I do not deserve so nostalgic a phrase. The primitive church was distinctly against matrimony.
That's precisely why the primitive church has not lasted to the present day. And you do not
seem to realize, dear Dr. Chasuble, that by persistently remaining single, a man converts himself to permanent public temptation. Men should be more careful. This very celibacy leads weaker vessels astray.
But is a man not equally attractive when married?
No married man is ever attractive, except to his wife.
Sometimes I've heard not even to her.
Well, that depends upon the sensibilities of the woman. Maturity can always be depended on. Ripe women may be trusted. Young women are green. I spoke horticulturally, of course. My metaphor was drawn from fruits. Where is that Cecily?
Perhaps she followed us to the schools.
Mr. Worthing?
Mr. Worthing.
Oh, we did not expect you until Monday afternoon.
I have returned sooner than I expected. Dr. Chasuble, I hope you are well.
Yes, yes. I hope this garb of woe does not betake some sudden calamity.
My brother.
More shameful deaths and extravagance.
Still leading his life of pleasure.
Dead!
Your brother Ernest is dead?
Quite dead.
What a lesson for him! I trust he will profit by it.
Well, you have at least the comfort of knowing you are always the most loving and caring of brothers.
Poor Earnest. He had his faults, but it's a sad, sad blow.
Were you with him at the end?
No, he died abroad, in fact. In Paris. I had a telegram last night from the manager of the Grand Hotel.
Was the cause of death mentioned?
A severe chill, it seems.
As a man sows, so shall he reap.
Charity, dear Miss Prism, charity. Some of us are particularly susceptible to drafts. 2. Will the interment take place here?
Oh, no. He seems to have expressed a desire to be buried in Paris.
In Paris? I doubt that shows any serious state of mind at the last. You would no doubt wish for me to make some slight allusion to this domestic affliction in my service on Sunday. My sermon on the meaning of manna in the wilderness can be adopted to almost any occasion, joyful, or in the present case, distressing. No, I've preached at baptisms, christenings, confirmations, festival days, days of humiliation. The last time I preached it was at the cathedral. The bishop was very drawn by some of the references I drew.
Oh, you mentioned christening, I think, Dr. Chasuble. I suppose you know how to christen all right. I mean, you are continually christening.
It is, I regret to say, one of the rector's most constant duties at our parish. I have often spoken to the poorer classes about it, but they don't seem to know what thrift is.
But is there any baby in which you have to want christened? Your brother was, I believe, unmarried.
Yes, he was.
People who live entirely for pleasure usually are.
But it's not for any baby, dear doctor. I'm very fond of babies. No, I would like to be christened myself this afternoon if you have nothing better to do.
But surely, Mr. Worthing, you have been christened already.
Well, I don't remember anything about it.
Do you have any grave doubts on the subject?
I certainly intend to have. But if you think I'm a little too old now, or if it would trouble you too much.
No, no, no. The sprinkling and indeed immersion of adults is a perfectly canonical practice.
Immersion?
Believe me, Mr. Worthing, you need have no apprehensions. The sprinkling is all that is necessary, or indeed, I think, advisable. Our weather is so changeable.
I might trot round at about 5 if that would suit you.
Wonderfully, wonderfully. In fact, I have a case of twins in one of the outlying cottages on your estate. Paul Jenkins the carter, a most hard-working man.
Now, it's no fun being christened with a bunch of babies. It would seem so childish. Would 5:30 do?
Admirably, admirably. Now, Mr. Worthing, I will not intrude too long upon the house of sorrow. I would merely wish you not to be too bowed down with grief. What seem to us bitter trials now are often blessings in disguise.
Well, this seems to me a blessing in an extremely obvious kind.
Uncle Jack! Uncle Jack, I'm so pleased to see you. But what horrible clothes you have on. Do go in and change them.
Cecily!
My child, my child.
Uncle Jack, what's the matter? Do look happy. You look as though you've got a toothache, and I've got such a surprise for you. Guess who's in the kitchen at this very moment? Your brother!
Who?
Your brother Ernest! He arrived about half an hour ago.
What nonsense! I haven't got a brother!
Uncle Jack, No matter how bad he may have behaved in the past, he is still your brother. And you will not be so heartless as to disown him. I'll go get him, and you will shake hands with him, won't you?
This is a very surprising turn of events.
After we had all been so resigned to his loss, this sudden return seems to me particularly distressing.
My brother Earnest is in the dining room. I don't know what this means. I think it's perfectly absurd. Good heavens!
Brother John! I have come down from town to tell you that I am very sorry about all the trouble I have caused, and I fully intend on leading a better life from now on.
Uncle Jack, you are not going to refuse your own brother's hand.
Nothing will induce me to take his hand. I think his coming down here disgraceful. He knows perfectly well why.
Uncle Jack, there is some good in everyone. In fact, Ernest was just telling me about his poor friend, Mr. Bunbury, whom he goes to visit so often. And surely there must be much good in one who leaves the pleasures of London so often to sit by a bed of pain.
Oh, he's been talking to you about Bunbury, has he?
He's told me all about Bunbury and his terrible state of health.
Well, it won't have to talk to you about Bunbury, or about anything else for that matter. It's enough to drive one perfectly frantic.
I must say, my brother's coldness to me is rather surprising. I expected a warmer welcome, especially since this is the first time I have ever come here.
Uncle Jack, if you do not shake hands with your brother, I will never forgive you.
Never forgive me?
Never, ever, ever.
Well, this is the last time I shall ever do it.
It is wonderful, is it not, to see such a perfect reconciliation?
We ought to leave them alone. Cecily, you come with us.
Certainly, my little task of reconciliation is over.
You've done a beautiful act today, dear Charlotte.
We must not be too premature in our judgments.
I feel very happy.
Algy, you young scoundrel, you must get out of there at once. You've no right whatsoever to Bunbury here.
I'm going to put Mr. Earnest's things in the room next to yours. I suppose that is all right.
His what?
Mr. Earnest's things, I'm going to unpack them and put them into the room next to your own.
His luggage?
Yes, sir. 3 portmanteaus, 2 hat boxes, a large luncheon basket, and a bloody dog bed.
Afraid I shan't be able to stay more than a week this time.
Merriman, order the dog cart at once. Mr. Earnest has suddenly been called back to town.
Yes, sir.
What a frightful liar you are, Jack. I haven't been called back at all.
Yes, you have.
I haven't heard anyone call me.
Your duty as a gentleman calls you back.
Oh, that's nonsense. My duty as a gentleman has never interfered with my pleasures in the slightest.
I can quite understand that.
Well, Cecily is a dog.
You're not to talk of Miss Cardew like that. I don't like it.
Well, I don't like your clothes. Why on earth you should be dressed as though you are a mourner for somebody who is, in fact, staying in your own house for an entire week as your guest is quite beyond me. I call it childish.
You are not staying with me in my house for a whole week as a guest or anything else. You've got to leave by the 4:05 train.
Well, I certainly wouldn't leave you while you are in mourning. I don't suppose you would leave me while I were in mourning. I think it very unfriendly of you.
Well, will you go if I change my clothes?
Yes, if you're not too long. I've never seen anyone take so long to get dressed with so little result.
Well, it's better than being always overdressed as you are.
If I'm occasionally a little overdressed, I always make up for it by being immensely overeducated.
Your vanity is ridiculous, your conduct an outrage, and your presence in my garden utterly absurd. However, you've got to get back to town by the 4:05 train, and I hope you have a very pleasant journey back to town. This Bunbury, as you call it, has not been a great success for you.
I think it has been a great success. I'm in love with Cecily, and that is all. Now, I must find Cecily before I leave and make arrangements for another Bunbury. Oh, there she is.
Oh, I thought you were Uncle Jack. I merely came to water the flowers.
Oh, no, he's going to order the dog cart for me.
He's going to take you for a nice ride.
No, he's going to send me away.
Then we've got to part.
Afraid so. It's painful parting.
It is always a painful parting to
Be separated from one whom one has just been introduced to. One can endure the absence of old friends with equanimity. But to be separated from one whom one has just met is almost unbearable.
Thank you.
Dog cart is at the door, sir.
It can wait 5 minutes, Merriman.
Yes, miss.
Cecily, ever since I have laid eyes upon you, I have dared to think that you were the visible personification of absolute perfection.
Oh, Ernest, I think your frankness does you great credit. If you will allow me, I will copy your remarks into my diary.
Do you really keep a diary? I give anything to read it, may I?
Oh, no. It is simply a young girl's collections of her thoughts and impressions and consequently meant for publication. When it comes into volume form, I hope you will purchase a copy. But you may continue. I have finished absolute perfection. You may go on. Don't cough, Ernest. When one is dictating, one should speak quite fluently and not cough. Besides, I don't know how to spell cough.
Cecily, ever since I have laid eyes upon you, I have dared to love you wildly, madly, passionately, devotedly, hopelessly.
I don't think you should say that you love me wildly, passionately, devotedly, hopelessly. Hopelessly doesn't seem to make very much sense, does it?
Cecily,
Dog cart is waiting, sir.
tell it to come round same time next week.
Uncle Jack. Uncle Jack is not going to be very pleased. If he knew the dog cart was coming around next week at the same hour.
Oh, I don't care at all about Uncle Jack. All I care about is you, Cecily. You will marry me, won't you?
Of course. But you dear boy, we've already been engaged for 3 months.
For 3 months.
Yes, it'll be 3 months this Thursday.
But how did we become engaged?
Well, ever since Uncle Jack started going on about a brother he had who was both very wicked and very bad, you of course became the chief topic of conversation between myself and Miss Prism. And the man who was talked about is often found quite attractive. I dare say it was foolish of me, Ernest, but I fell in love with you.
Oh, Cecily, but when was the engagement actually settled?
Oh, on the 14th of February last. Worn out by your entire ignorance of my existence, I was determined to end the matter one way or another. So I finally accepted you under this dear old tree here. And the next day, this is the true lover's knot that I've been promised you always to wear.
Did I buy this for you? It's very pretty, isn't it?
Yes, you've got wonderfully good taste, Ernest. It's the excuse I've always given you for leading such a terrible life. And here, this is the box of dear old letters that you sent me.
But, my own sweet Cecily, I have never written you any letters.
You need hardly remind me of that, Ernest. I remember quite clearly I was forced to write them myself. I wrote 3 times a week, sometimes oftener.
May I read them?
Of course not. They would make you far too conceited. But I must say, the 3 you wrote, after I broke off the engagement, are so beautiful and so badly spelled that I can hardly read them now without crying a little.
But was our engagement ever broken off?
Yes, on the 22nd of May. You may read the entry in my diary if you like. Broke off the engagement with Ernest today. Seems only fitting. The weather continues charming.
But what had I done? I had done nothing at all. Cecily, I am very upset to hear that you broke off our engagement, especially when the weather was so charming.
It would have hardly been a very serious engagement if it hadn't been broken off once or twice. Besides, I forgave you before the end of the week.
Cecily, what a little angel you are.
You dear romantic boy. Does your hair curl naturally?
Yes, with a little help from others.
I'm so glad.
You'll never break off our engagement again, will you?
I suppose not, now having met you. But there is the question of your name.
Oh, yes, of course.
Now, I know you may think it foolish of me, but it's always been a girlish dream of mine to marry someone by the name of Earnest. Something about that name inspires complete confidence. In fact, I pity any poor married woman whose husband's name is not Earnest.
But, Cecily, do you really mean to say that you could not love me if I had some other name?
But what name?
I don't know, any name you like. Algernon, for instance?
I do not like the name of Algernon.
Well, what's wrong with the name of Algernon? It's a fine name. It's a rather aristocratic name. Half the chaps who end up in bankruptcy court are called Algernon. But seriously, Cecily, if my name were Algie, could you love me?
Ernest, I might admire your character. I might respect you, but I could not give you my undivided attention.
Yes, well, your rector here, he is well versed in all the rites and ceremonials of the church.
Oh, yes. Dr. Choswell is the most learned man. In fact, he hasn't written a single book, so you can imagine how much he knows.
Excellent. Well, I must see him at once on a very important christening. I mean, important business.
Oh?
Well, I won't be more than half an hour.
Half an hour. We have been engaged since the 14th of February last, and I've only now just met you. Don't you think half an hour is a little bit of a long time for us to be apart?
Be back as soon as possible.
What an impetuous boy he is. I like his hair so much. I shall enter his proposal into my diary.
Miss Fairfax has just called to see Mr. Worthing on very important business, Miss Fairfax states.
Did you tell her Mr. Worthing was in the library?
Mr. Worthing went over in the direction of the rectory some time ago.
Send her out here, and you can bring tea.
Yes, miss, after I walk the bloody dog.
Miss Fairfax? No doubt one of the many ladies involved with Uncle Jack and his philanthropic work. I don't like women involved in philanthropic work. I think it is so forward of them.
Miss Fairfax.
Pray let me introduce myself to you. My name is Cecily Cardew.
Cecily Cardew? My, what a very sweet name. Something tells me that we are going to be great friends. I like you already more than I can say. My first impressions of people are never wrong.
How nice of you to like me so much after we've known each other such a comparatively short time. Won't you sit down?
I may call you Cecily, may I not?
With pleasure.
And you will always call me Gwendolyn, won't you?
Certainly.
Well, that appears all quite settled then, does it not?
I hope so.
Perhaps this would be a favourable opportunity for my mentioning who I am. My father is Lord Bracknell. You've not heard of Papa, I suppose?
I don't think so.
Outside of the family circle, Papa, I'm happy to say, is entirely unknown. That's quite how it should be. The home seems to me to be the proper sphere for a man. Indeed, once a man begins neglecting his domestic duties, he becomes painfully effeminate, does he not? And I don't like that. It makes men so very attractive. Cecily, Mamma, whose views on education are remarkably strict, has brought me up to be terribly short-sighted. So do you mind my looking at you through my glasses?
Oh no, Gwendolyn, I'm quite fond of being looked at.
You are here on short visit, I suppose.
Oh no, I live here.
Do you really? Well, your mother, no doubt, or some female relative of advanced age resides here also.
No, I have no mother, nor in fact any relations.
Indeed?
My guardian, with the assistance of Miss Prism, has the arduous task of looking after me.
Your guardian, you say?
Yes, Mr. Worthing.
Oh. What is strange, she never mentioned to me that she had a ward. How very secretive of him. He grows more interesting hourly. I cannot say, however, that the news inspires me with feelings of unmixed delight. I'm very fond of you, Cecily. I have liked you ever since I met you. But now that I know that you are Mr. Worthing's ward, I can't help expressing a wish that you were, well, slightly older than you seem to be, and not quite so alluring in appearance. In fact, if I may speak candidly...
Pray do. I think whenever one has something unpleasant to say, one should speak candidly.
Well, to speak with perfect candour, Cecily, I wish you were fully 42 and more than usually plain for your age. Ernest has a strong, upright nature. He's the very soul of truth and honour. Disloyalty would be as impossible to him as deception. But even men of the most noble, upright, moral character can be extremely influenced by the physical charms of others. Modern, no less than ancient history provides us with many painful examples of what I refer to. Indeed, if it were not so, history would be quite unreadable.
I beg your pardon, Gwendolyn. Did you say Ernest?
Oh, yes.
Oh, but it is not Ernest Worthing who is my guardian. It is his brother.
Ernest never mentioned to me that he had a brother.
I'm sorry to say they have not been on good terms for a very long time.
Well, that accounts for it. And now that I think on it, I've never heard of any man mentioning his brother. The subject seems distasteful to most men. Cecily, you have lifted a load from my mind. I was growing almost anxious. It would have been a terrible thing if any cloud had come across a friendship like ours, would it not? Of course, you are quite certain that it is not Mr. Ernest Worthing who is your guardian.
Quite sure. In fact, I'm going to be his.
I beg your pardon.
Oh, Gwendolyn, there's no use keeping it a secret from you. Our little county newspaper is sure to chronicle the fact next week. Mr. Ernest Worthing and I are engaged to be married.
I am so sorry, dear Cecily, but I feel there must be some slight error. Mr. Ernest Worthing is engaged to me. The fact will be mentioned in the Morning Post on Saturday at the latest.
I'm afraid you're listening to strange misconception. Ernest Worthing proposed to me exactly 10 minutes ago.
It is very curious, for he asked me to be his wife yesterday afternoon at 5:30. If you would care to verify the incident, pray do so. I never travel without my diary. One should always have something sensational to read on the train. I'm so sorry, dear Cecily, if it is any disappointment to you, but I'm afraid that I have the prior claim.
It would distress me more than I can say, Gwendolyn, to cause you any physical or mental anguish. But it appears that since Ernest proposed to you, he has clearly changed his mind.
When if the poor boy has entrapped himself into any foolish promise, I shall consider it my duty to rescue him at once, and with a firm hand.
Whatever unfortunate entanglement my dear wonderful boy may have gotten himself into, I will never reproach you with it until after we are married.
Do you allude to me, Miss Cardew, as an entanglement? You are presumptuous. In a moment like this, it becomes more than a moral duty to speak one's mind. It becomes a pleasure.
Do you suggest, Miss Fairfax, that I entrapped Ernest into an engagement? This is no time for wearing a shallow mask of manners. When I see a spade, I call it a spade.
Well, I'm happy to say that I've never seen a spade. It is obvious that our social spheres have been widely different.
Shall I lay the tea here as usual, miss?
Oh, yes, as usual.
Are there any interesting walks in the vicinity, Miss Cardew?
Oh, yes, a great many. In fact, from on top of the hills, one can see 5 counties.
5 counties? Don't think I should like that. I hate crowds.
Oh, yes. I suppose that is why you live in the city, Miss Fairfax?
Quite a well-kept garden this is, Miss Cardew.
So glad you like it.
I had absolutely no idea there were any flowers in the country.
There are many flowers in the country, Miss Fairfax. Almost as many as there are people in London.
Personally, I cannot imagine how anybody manages to exist in the country. If anybody who is anybody does. The country always bores me to death.
Ah, this is what I believe the newspapers are calling agricultural depression. The aristocracy is suffering from it very much at present. It is almost an epidemic amongst them.
Tea, Miss Fairfax? Thank you. Detestable girl. But I require tea. Sugar? No, thank you. Sugar's not fashionable anymore. Cake?
Or bread and butter.
Oh, bread and butter, please. Cake is hardly seen in more fashionable houses these days.
Give that to Miss Fairfax.
You have filled my tea with lumps of sugar, and now I ask specifically for bread and butter. You have given me cake. I am known for the sweetness of my disposition and the gentleness of my nature, but I warn you, Miss Cardew, you may go too far.
Save my poor boy from the machinations of another girl. There are no lengths to which I would not go.
From the moment I saw you, I distrusted you. I felt you were false and deceitful. I am never deceived by such manners. My first impressions of people are invariably right.
No doubt, Miss Fairfax. You've many appointments to make of a similar nature in the neighborhood. I must be trespassing on your valuable time.
Ernest! My own Ernest! A moment. May I ask if you are engaged to be married to this young lady?
To dear sweet little Cecily? Of course not. What could have put such an idea into your pretty little head?
Thank you. You may.
I knew there must be some misunderstanding. The gentleman whose arm was just around your waist is none other than Mr. John Worthing.
I beg your pardon.
This is Uncle Jack.
Jack? Oh!
Here is Ernest.
Cecily.
A moment. Are you engaged to be married to this young woman over there?
What young woman? Good heavens, Gwendolyn!
Yes, Gwendolyn. Good heavens, Gwendolyn!
Well, of course not. What can put such an idea into your pretty little head?
Thank you. You may.
I knew there must be some slight error, Miss Cardew. The gentleman who is currently embracing you is none other than my cousin, Mr. Algernon Moncrief.
Algernon Moncrief? Are you called Algernon?
I cannot deny it.
Is your name really John?
I could deny it if I liked. I could deny anything if I liked. But my name certainly is John. It has been John for years.
A gross deception has been practiced upon both of us.
My poor wounded Cecily!
My sweet wronged Gwendolyn!
You will call me sister, will you not?
Certainly. But there is just one question I would like to be allowed to ask my guardian.
An admirable idea, Mr. Worthing. There's just one question I would be allowed to ask you. Where is your brother Ernest? We are both engaged to be married to your brother Ernest, so it's a matter of grave importance where your brother Ernest is at this time.
Gwendolyn, Cecily, it's very painful for me to be forced to speak the truth. In fact, it's the first time in my life that I've been forced into such a painful position. But I must tell you that I have no brother Ernest. I have no brother at all. I never had a brother in the past, and I certainly have no intention of having a brother in the future.
No brother at all.
None.
Had you never a brother of any kind?
No, not even of any kind.
I'm afraid it's quite clear, Cecily, that neither of us are engaged to be married to anybody.
It is not a very pleasant position for a young girl to find herself in, is it?
Let us go into the house. They will hardly venture to come after us there.
No men are such cowards, aren't they?
ghastly state of affairs is what you call bunburying, I suppose.
Yes, and what a wonderful bunbury it is. The most wonderful bunbury I've ever been on.
Well, the only small satisfaction I have in the whole of this affair is that your friend Bunbury is quite exploded. You won't be able to go down to the country quite so often as you used to, and not a bad thing either.
Your brother is quite exploded, isn't he, Jack? You won't be able to disappear down to London so often as your wicked custom was, and not a bad thing either.
As for your conduct towards Miss Cardew, I must say that you're taking in a sweet, simple, innocent girl like Cecily is perfectly inexcusable. To say nothing of the fact that she is my ward.
I can see no possible defense for your deceiving a sweet, wonderful, intellectual young lady like Miss Fairfax, to say nothing of the fact that she is my cousin.
I want you to become engaged to Gwendolyn, that is all. I love her.
Well, I want to be married to Cecily. I adore her.
Well, there's certainly no chance of your marrying Miss Cardew.
Well, I don't think there's much chance of you and Miss Fairfax being united either, Jack.
Though that is no business of yours.
Wasn't where I wouldn't talk about it. Only people like stockbrokers do that. Even then, only at dinner parties.
How you can sit there, calmly eating muffins, when we're in this horrible state of affairs I can't quite make out. You seem to me to be perfectly heartless.
My dear boy, when I am in really great trouble, all I do is eat. In fact, when I am in really great trouble, I refuse everything except food and drink. Present, I'm eating because I am happy. I also happen to be particularly fond of muffins.
Well, there's no reason why you treat them all in that greedy way.
I wish you'd eat the tea cake. I don't like tea cake.
Good heavens! I suppose a man may eat his own muffins in his own garden!
But you just said it was perfectly heartless to eat muffins given the circumstances.
I said it was perfectly heartless with you under the circumstances. That's quite a different matter.
Yes, but the muffins are the same.
I wish you'd have tea cake. I wish you would go.
My dear boy, I haven't any intention of doing anything of the kind. For one thing, I have not yet had my dinner, and I never leave without eating my dinner. Only people like vegetarians do that. And secondly, I have made arrangements with Dr. Chasuble to be christened under the name of Earnest at 5:45.
My dear fellow, the sooner you give up that nonsense, the better. I have made arrangements myself with Dr. Chasuble to be christened at 5:30, and I naturally will take the name of Earnest, and Gwendolyn would wish it. We can't both be christened Earnest. It's absurd. Besides, I have a perfect right to be christened if I like. There's no evidence at all that I was ever christened in all my life, and Dr. Chasuble thinks it's extremely probable I never was. You have been christened already.
Yes, but I have not been christened in years.
Yes, but you have been christened. That's the important thing.
Exactly. So I know my constitution can stand it. I must say, Jack, if you are unsure about your ever being christened, I don't think I can recommend it. It might make you very unwell. I needn't have to remind you that somebody very close to you was very nearly carried off in Paris this week by a severe chill.
Yes, but you said yourself that a severe chill was not hereditary.
Well, it used to be, I know that. Goodness knows it probably is now. Science is always making wonderful advancements and that sort of thing.
And that's nonsense.
Jack, you're at the muffins again.
But I don't like tea cake.
Well then why on earth do you allow it to be served to your guests? What ideas of hospitality you have?
Algernon, I've already told you to go. Why don't you go? I told you to leave here several hours ago and you still haven't left.
Because I have not yet finished my tea, and there is still one muffin left.
Merriman, lock the bloody door. Merriman, take out the bloody trash. I'm sick of it. Doesn't help that I'm allergic to you anyways. Oh, dog, will you just do whatever you need to do out here? Oh. God, I'm sick of this job. I wanted to be an actor, to be on the stage. Mother said, oh no, wouldn't it be nice if you served one of the wealthier families of England? Oh, God, why did I listen to it? Dog, will you just... Are you quite finished? Come on. Oh, not that way.
adore, and love is all. Great idea, Algie.
Shut up.
This dignified silence seems to produce an unpleasant effect.
The most distasteful one.
But we will not be the first to speak. Certainly not. Mr. Worthing, there is one question I would be permitted to ask you. Much depends on your reply.
Gwendolyn, your common sense is invaluable. Mr. Moncrief, why did you pretend to be my guardian's brother?
So that I might have a chance of meeting you, of course.
That seems a very satisfactory answer.
Yes, dear, if you believe him.
Well, I don't. But that does not affect the simple beauty of his answer.
True. I had forgotten that in matters of grave importance, style, not sincerity, is the thing. Mr. Worthing, what explanation can you offer me for pretending to have a brother? Is it possibly so that you would have had the opportunity to come up to town to visit me as often as possible?
Can you doubt it, Miss Fairfax?
I have the gravest doubts on the subject. But I intend to crush them. This is not the time for German skepticism. Your explanation seems to me quite satisfactory, especially Mr. Worthing's. That seems to have the stamp of truth upon it.
I am more than content with what Mr. Moncrief said. His voice alone inspires one with absolute credulity.
Do you think we should forgive them?
Yes. I mean, no.
No. There are principles at stake here that one cannot surrender. Which one of us should tell them? The task is not a pleasant one.
Could we not both speak at the same time?
Brilliant! I'm nearly always speaking at the same time as other people. Will you take the time for me?
Certainly.
And 1, 2, 3. Your Christian names are still an inseparable barrier. That is all!
Our Christian names? Is that all? But we're going to be christened this afternoon.
For me? You are willing to do this terrible thing?
I am.
For my sake, you're willing to face this horrible ordeal?
I am.
How absurd it is to talk of the equality of the sexes. In matters of self-sacrifice, men are infinitely beyond us.
We are.
They have moments of physical courage that we women know absolutely nothing about.
Darling.
Darling!
Darling.
Darling!
Lady Bracknell. Good heavens!
Gwendolyn! What does this mean? Merely that I'm engaged to be married to Mr. Worthing, Mamma.
Come here. Sit down. Sit down immediately. Hesitation of any kind is a sign of mental decay in the young and physical weakness in the old. Pray, sir, my daughter's sudden flight by her trusty maid, whose confidence I have purchased by means of a small coin, I followed her at once by luggage train. Her unhappy father is, I'm glad to say, under the impression that she's attending a rather lengthy lecture by the University of Extension Scheme on the influence of permanent income on thought. I do not propose to undeceive him. In fact, I never propose to undeceive him on any question. I consider it wrong. Oh, but of course, you now understand that all communication between yourself and my daughter must cease immediately. And on this point, and on points, I am firm.
I'm engaged to be married to Gwendolyn, Lady Bracknell.
No, you have nothing of the kind, sir. As regards Algernon. Algernon!
Yes, Aunt Augusta?
Algernon, may I ask you if this is the house by which your invalid friend Bunbury resides?
No, Aunt Augusta. Bunbury doesn't live here. Bunbury's somewhere else at present. In fact, Bunbury's dead.
Dead? When did he die? His death must have been extremely sudden.
Oh, I killed Bunbury this afternoon. I mean, Bunbury died this afternoon.
Well, what did he die of?
Bunbury, he was quite exploded.
Exploded? Was he the victim of revolutionary outrage? I was not aware Mr. Bunbury was interested in social legislation. If so, he was well punished for his morbidity.
No, Aunt Augusta. What I mean to say is that Bunbury was found out. You see, his doctors found out that he couldn't live, and so he died.
Well, he seems to have great confidence
confidence in the opinions of his physicians. But I'm glad, however, that he came to some definite course of action and acted under proper medical advice. But now that we have this Mr. Bunbury out of the way, Mr. Worthing, may I ask you who is that young lady who's holding my nephew's hand in a rather peculiarly unnecessary manner?
That lady is Miss Cecily Cardew, my ward.
Cecily and I are engaged to be married, Aunt Augusta.
I beg your pardon.
Mr. Moncrief and I are engaged.
I don't know if there's anything peculiarly exciting in the air in this particular part of Hertfordshire, but the number of engagements that seems to go on seems to me considerably above the proper average that statistics have laid down for our guidance. Some preliminary inquiry on my part would not be out of the question. Mr. Welling, may I ask you if Miss Cardew is in any way connected to the large railway stations in London? Before yesterday, I was not aware that any persons or family had an origin of a terminus.
Miss Cardew is the granddaughter of the late Mr. Thomas Cardew of 149 Belgrave Square, SW, Jervis Park, Dorking, Surrey, and the Sporin, Fifeshire, and B.
That sounds satisfactory. 3 addresses always inspire confidence, even in a tradesman. But what if I prove their authenticity?
I have carefully preserved the core guides of the period, Lady Bracknell. They are open to your inspection.
I've known strange errors in that publication.
But Miss Cardew's family solicitors are Messrs. Markby, Markby, and Markby.
Markby and Markby, a firm of very highest position in their profession. In fact, I am aware one of them, Mr. Markby, often attends dinner parties. So far, I am satisfied.
I have also preserved, you'll be glad to hear, certificates of Miss Cardew's birth, baptism, whooping cough, vaccination, registration, confirmation, and the measles, both the German and the English variety.
A life crowded with incident, perhaps too exciting for a young girl like Cecily. But I'm aware that... Dear, Gwendolyn, time approaches for our departure. We've not a minute to lose. But in fact, before I go, Mr. Worthing, may I ask if Miss Cardew has any fortune of any kind?
Oh, about £130,000 for the funds. Thank you, Lady Bracknell. So pleased to have seen you.
Oh, £130,000! And in funds? Miss Cardew seems to me attractive young lady now that I look at her. Few girls of present day have any really solid qualities, or any qualities that last the time. A pretty child. Come here, sit down for a second. See, your dress is sadly simple, and your hair seems as though nature might have left it. But a thoroughly experienced French maid produces a rather marvelous effect in a brief space of time. I remember recommending that to a young lady Lansing, and after 3 months, her own husband didn't even know her.
And after 6 months, nobody knew her.
Kindly turn around to the child. Oh, no. Come here. The side profile is just what I want. Yes, just as I suspected. The distinct social possibilities in your profile. Style, largely depends on the way the chin is worn, is one very high at present. Algernon?
Yes, Aunt Augusta?
The distinct social possibilities in Miss Cardew's profile.
Cecily is the dearest, sweetest, prettiest girl in the whole world, and I don't care tuppence for her social possibilities.
Do not speak disrespectfully about society, Algernon. Only people who can't get into it do that. Oh, my dear Cecily, you do understand that Algernon has nothing but his debts to depend upon. See, when I married Lord Bracknell, I had no fortune of any kind. But I never for one moment allowed that to get in my way. So I guess I must give my consent.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
Cecily, you may kiss me now.
Thank you, Lady Bracknell.
You may now address me as Aunt Augusta for the future.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
The marriage had better take place quite soon. You know, I'm not in favor of long engagements, because it gives the people a chance to find out each other's character before marriage, which I think is never highly advisable.
I beg your pardon for interrupting you, Lady Bracknell. I feel compelled to inform you that as Miss Cardew's guardian, she cannot marry without my consent until she comes of age. That consent I absolutely decline to give.
Upon what grounds, may I ask, Mr. Worthing? Algernon seems to me a most ostentatiously ineligible young man. He has nothing but looks everything. What more can one desire?
It pains me very much to have to speak to you frankly about your nephew, Lady Bracknell. I must say that I don't approve at all of his moral character. I suspect him of being untruthful.
Untruthful! Impossible! My nephew Algernon, why, he is an Oxonian!
I fear there can be no possible doubt about the matter. This afternoon, during my absence in London, on an important question of romance, he obtained admission into my house under the false pretense of being my brother. He then proceeded under an assumed name to drink, I've just been informed by my mother, an entire pint bottle of my Perrier-Jouet Brew 89, a wine I was especially reserving for myself. Continuing his disgraceful deception, he succeeded in the course of the afternoon in alienating the affections of my only ward. He subsequently staged tea and devoured every single muffin. And what makes his conduct all the more heartless is he was perfectly aware from the start that I have no brother, that I never have had a brother, and I have no intention of having a brother in the future. I told him so myself yesterday afternoon.
Mr. Worthing, after careful consideration, I even decided to entirely overlook my nephew's conduct too.
That's very generous of you, Lady Bracknell. My own decision, however, is unalterable. I decline to give my consent.
Cecily, come here, dear. How old are you, my child? Sit down.
Well, I'm 18, but I admit to 22 at evening parties.
Well, I don't see, you're quite right to make that slight observation. No woman should ever be quite accurate about her age. It looks so calculating. 18, but admitting to 22 at dinner parties. Well, I do not believe that you are soon to become of age, and you are free of the restraints of tutelage. So I believe, after all, your guardian's consent is no matter of importance.
I beg your pardon for interrupting you yet again, Lady Bracknell. But I must tell you that according to the terms of her grandfather's will, Miss Cardew does not come legally of age until she's 35.
Oh, well, that does not seem to me to be a grave objection. 35 is a rather very attractive age. London society is filled with women who, of the very highest birth, and of their own free choice, have remained 35 for years. Lady Dumbledon instance in point. From my own knowledge, she has remained 35 ever since she arrived at the age of 40, which has been quite a few years now. I do not see that Miss Cardew will seem to be any more beautiful than she is now than the age you mentioned at present. Plus, there will be a large accumulation of land.
Algernon, could you wait for me till I was 35?
Of course I could, Cecily. You know I could.
Yes, I felt instinctively that you could. But I couldn't wait all that time. I hate even waiting 5 minutes for anybody. I'm not punctual myself, I know, but I do appreciate punctuality in others. And waiting, even to be married, is quite out of the question.
Well, what is to be done, Cecily?
I don't know, Mr. Moncrief.
Mr. Worthing, after careful consideration, Miss Cardew seems to me to display certain discontent for wanting to get married, and seems to me,
You're really impatient, really.
yeah, very impatient nature. So I beg of you to reconsider your decision.
Well, the decision is entirely in your own hands. The moment you consent to my marriage with Gwendolyn, I will happily allow your nephew to form an alliance with my ward.
You must be aware what you pose is out of the question.
Then a passionate celibacy is all that any of us can look forward to.
That is not the destiny I propose for Gwendolyn. Algernon, of course, can choose for himself. Gwendolyn, time approaches for our departure. We missed 5, if not 6 trains. To miss any more might expose us to comment on the platform.
Everything is ready for the christenings.
Oh, christenings! Is that not somewhat premature?
Both of these men expressed desire for immediate baptism.
At their age, the idea is irreligious and grotesque. Algernon, I forbid you to get baptized. I will not hear of such excesses. Lord Bracknell will be extremely displeased if he heard this is the way you are wasting your time, my buddy.
Am I to understand that there will be no christenings?
I think that as things are now, it would not be of much practical value to either of us, Dr. Chaswell.
Your views say the heretical views of the Antibands, which I have refuted in 4 of my unpublished sermons. But, seeing as how your mood is particularly secular, I will return to the vestry at once. Indeed, I heard Miss Prism has been waiting for me there for half an hour.
Did I hear you mention that?
Yes, I'm on my way to join you.
I pray allow me to take you for a moment. This may prove to be of vital importance to Lord Bracknell and I. Now, is this Miss Prism, by the female repellent aspect, remotely connected with education?
Miss Prism is the most cultivated of ladies, the picture of respectability.
It's obviously the same person. May I ask you what position she holds in your household?
I'm celibate, madame.
Miss Prism has been for the last 3 years Miss Carnew's esteemed governess and valued companion.
In spite of what I hear of her, I must see her at once. Let her be sent for.
She approaches. She is mine.
I was told you expected me in the vestry, dear Canon. I've been waiting there for you for 1 hour and 3/4.
Prism! Come here, Prism! Prism, where is that baby? 28 years ago, Prism, you left Lord Bracknell's house, number 104 Upper Grosvenor Street, in charge of a perambulator containing a baby of the male sex. You never returned. 2 weeks later, the perambulator was found in a remote corner of Bayswater, but the baby was not there. Instead, it contained a manuscript with a 3-volume novel of rather unusually revolting sentimentality. And yet, that baby was not there! Prism, where is that baby?
Lady Bracknell, I admit with shame that I do not know. The plain facts of the case were these. On the morning which you mention, a day which is forever branded in my memory, I prepared to take the baby out as usual in its perambulator. I had also with me a slightly old but capacious-looking handbag in which I had intended to place the manuscript of a work of fiction I had completed in my few unoccupied hours. In a moment of mental abstraction, for which I can never forgive myself, I deposited the manuscript in the bassinet and placed the baby in the handbag.
But where do you deposit the handbag?
Do not ask me, Mr. Faraday.
I insist on knowing where you deposited the handbag and between that evening.
I left it at one of the larger railway stations in London.
Which railway station?
Victoria. The precious one.
Gwendolyn, I must retire to my room at once. Will you wait here for me?
Well, if you are not too long, I will wait for you my entire life.
This is a very strange turn of events.
Dare not even suspect, Dr. Chasuble. Strange coincidences in the upper classes are not supposed to occur. They're hardly a thing.
Uncle Jack seems strangely agitated.
He seems as though he's having an argument. I dislike arguments of any kind. They're always vulgar and often convincing.
Just stopped.
Bollocks!
I wish you would arrive at some conclusion.
This suspense is terrible. I hope it lasts.
Miss Prism, is this the handbag? Examine it carefully before you speak. The happiness of more than one life depends on your answer.
Oh, well, it appears to be mine. Yes, here's the injury it received at the upsetting of a Gower Street omnibus in younger and happier days. Oh, here, on the stain is a stain on the lining, caused by the upsetting of a temperance beverage, an incident which occurred at Leamington. Oh, here, on the lock, are my initials. I have forgotten that in amazing extravagance I have had them placed there. Yes, the bag is undoubtedly mine. Oh, it is such a joy to have it so unexpectedly returned to me after all these years. Oh,
Miss Prism, more is restored to you than this handbag. I was the baby you placed in it.
you?
Yes, mother! I'm married. I do not deny that is a serious blow. Who has the right to cast a stone against one who has suffered? Cannot repentance wipe out an act of folly? Why should there be one law for men and another for women? Mother, I forgive you.
Mr. Brother, there is still some error. There is the woman who can tell you who you really are.
Lady Bracknell, I hate to seem inquisitive, but could you kindly inform me who I am?
I'm afraid the news I'm about to give you will not altogether please you. You are son of my poor sister, Miss Moncrief, and consequently Algernon's elder brother.
Algy's elder brother! I always told you I had a brother! Lady Bracknell, my unfortunate brother. Dr. Caswell, my unfortunate brother. Miss Prism, my unfortunate brother. Gwendolyn, I always told you I had a brother, didn't I? Well, I do have a brother after all. You have to behave to me better in the future. You've never behaved to me like a brother in all your life.
Yes, I know, I have not, though I was out of practice.
My own? But what own are you? What is your Christian name now that you've become somebody else?
I had quite forgotten that point. The decision is irrevocable, I suppose.
Darling, I never change, except in my affections.
What a noble nature you have, Gwendolyn.
Lady Bracknell, at the time when I was placed in the handbag, had I been christened already?
Every luxury, including christenings, was lavished upon you by your fond and doting parents.
Then I was christened, that is settled. Now, what name was I given? Let me know the worst.
Well, since you are the eldest brother, you're consequently named after your father.
Yes, and what was my father's Christian name?
Well, I do not at present remember the general's Christian name. He was eccentric, I admit, but only in his later years. But that, of course, was due to Indian climate, marriage, indigestion, and other things of that sort.
Algernon, do you remember what our father's Christian name was?
My dear boy, he died when I was a year old. We were never even on speaking terms.
His name would appear in the army list of the period, I suppose, Lady Bracknell.
Oh, yes. He was a man of peace, except in his domestic life. But I do not doubt that his name would appear in any military directory.
The army list of the last 40 years are here. His delightful record should have been my constant study. M. Generals, Malum, Max von Magli, what ghastly names are these? Marquis, Mexley, Moncrief, Lieutenant 1840, Lieutenant Captain, Colonel, General 1869. Christian names, Earnest John.
Yes!
Gwendolyn, I always told you my name was Ernest, didn't I? Well, it is Ernest. I mean, it naturally is Ernest.
My own Ernest. From the very beginning, I knew you would have no other name.
Well, I knew I had a particular dislike for the name. I hate that Ernest.
It's a terrible thing for a man to find out that all his life he's been speaking nothing but the truth. Can you forgive me